Hi everybody, my name is Jessie and I do perfume reviews in ASMR format. So if you like perfume and also if you enjoy ASMR, you are in a good place for our video today. So today I'm doing a collection video and I've kind of been keeping this collection in my mind and on my iPhone notes for a while, and the collection is fragrances that I own that I think have a bit of a vintage touch to them. I believe vintage means anything older than 20 years ago, which that's funny to me. Like when I think of vintage, I think, I don't know, 50 years ago. But so I think maybe one or two of these, I don't know if any of these are technically vintage. Well, at least one, but most of these are more recent fragrances that to me just read as a little bit vintage. And so yeah, I thought it would be a fun list to do and to show you. And just a disclaimer that I'm not professionally trained at all. I'm total amateur perfume collector, and also I'm only in my mid-30s, so I don't really have the best gauge of perfumery over the years at all. I only really got interested in perfumery in a major way in the last 3 years, so I really don't have the best gauge of what actual vintage fragrances tend to smell like or whatever. I feel like I have some sense. This is just my interpretation, and if this list is skewed by my interests in perfumes, which just excludes certain types that might come across as vintage. Like I don't tend to have a lot of super heavy or animalic fragrances, and sometimes animalic can come across as really more vintage, but I just don't have any of those. So let's get started. I'm excited to show you the first one I have because I don't think I've shown this one before. This one I got just a couple months ago, maybe back in July or August. It's now November 2024. This one is called Rumeur, and it's by the company Lanvin. I think I'm saying that right. It's Lanvin, but I think you say it Lanvin. Oh, my cat is meowing. I might let her in. She's meowing at the door. I'm gonna let her in. Okay, my cat is in the room. Anyway, this is Rumeur. This one might technically be vintage. Let's see. No, almost. It was launched in 2006, so it's getting close to technically becoming vintage. And here is my cat Luna. So yeah, this fragrance definitely has a vintage feel to me. So this is a musky white floral, and I think it's magnolia. Let me see. Yeah, it's magnolia. Actually, a few white florals. Magnolia, lily of the valley. Okay. Magnolia, lily of the valley, jasmine, and orange blossom, as well as rose. So it really is a bit of a floral balm with musk, patchouli, and amber in the base. I think just the fact that it's so florally, and it honestly comes across as a bit indolic. I think I get jasmine most out of this, and it's kind of like an indolic white floral smell with the musk and patchouli in the base, which adds a bit of a classic feel. So yeah, I don't know. It's not my typical profile. I don't tend to love kind of heady florals, but I really love this one. I don't know why, and it definitely has a vintage feel to my nose and sensibilities. So yeah, that is Rumeur by Lanvin. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I always try to dress on theme. I didn't really know what to wear today, and seeing as vintage means anything 20 years or farther back, I could be wearing an 80s look, but I don't really have any 80s type clothing. So I went with this more kind of feminine floral, feminine vintage look, and I went with pearls because I feel like pearls are kind of timeless, and my nails totally do not match, but I did just do my nails and I liked the look. Oh, you just want to keep coming up. Okay, next fragrance to show you. This is by the brand Dior, and this is called Joy. Joy. And this fragrance was launched not too long ago. Let's see what the year. 2018. So yeah, it's not that old, but to me, it just has a slightly kind of vintage touch, but in a nice modern way, very likable. I think for a lot of people, when something comes across as vintage, that might be a turnoff. But all of these, to me, all of these fragrances, a lot of them are still very likable and still modern, but they just have a vintage touch. So that's this one for me. It's very powdery. It's a powdery, fruity floral, but it's not super fruity, and it doesn't come across in like a fresh, fruity floral way. The fresh, fruity floral always reads more modern to me, whereas this one is more powdery, slightly woody. It's got rose in it, so a lot of these fragrances, a lot of these have florals, and florals to me come across a little more vintage overall, especially ones like rose, purple florals like violet, iris, and also things like jasmine, gardenia, musks can kind of add that as well, patchouli. So yeah, this has rose, it has jasmine, musk, patchouli, it's got woods in it. So yeah, just all together, it's a powdery floral. It's a little bit sweet, but not at all like your modern gourmand. And yeah, just has a little bit of a vintage touch to me. So that is Joy by Dior. Okay, next fragrance here. And actually I just have the lotion variety. My cat is being so loud. She's like creating a whole secondary ASMR. I just have the lotion of this. This is Flower by Kenzo. I really like the bottle. It's this like very long, thin flute type bottle. Okay, you gotta go. I'm sorry, girl. You gotta go. But yeah, Flower by Kenzo. This was launched in, let's see, 2000. So technically this is vintage. I'm gonna try and keep track of how many technically are vintage, but this one is, because it's like 25 years old almost now. And oh, this is so nice. So this is exactly the sort of fragrance that when I first got into perfumes a few years ago, I smelled it and I was like, ugh. I was like, who would like that? It just smells powdery. It smells like baby wipes. It smells like an old grandma. I feel so bad saying that, but you know what I mean. Because we're all going to be grandmas one day, and grandmas are amazing. But anyway, when I smelled this a few years ago as a sample, I was just like, oh, it was a hard no. And now I really love powdery fragrances. I love floral fragrances. So my taste has just changed and evolved. But yeah, this is like a powder bomb, super powdery. It's got a lot of powdery florals. It's got musk in the base. It's got a Ponipax, which is a resin, as well as incense. But it's really, it's not super heavy or incensey or resiny. It's really mostly just like powdery florals, namely rose, hawthorn, and violet. And there's also jasmine. Yeah, so I really like it. Not for everybody. A lot of these I would say are not safe blind buys for today's tastes. A lot of these are not your typical fragrance that's being put out like into, in department stores. Like, yeah, I think a lot of these I would say some people might like, but they're not necessarily, most of these are not safe blind buys. Okay, so that is Flower by Kenzo. And next fragrance, I know for a fact this one is vintage. This is probably my oldest fragrance in this collection. this is Cashmere Mist by the brand Donna Karan. This is just the like half-ounce size or something, maybe a 1 ounce, half-ounce. Perfect for me. It's like a little size, and they have an Eau de Toilette as well as an Eau de Parfum version, and I believe this is the Eau de Toilette. Oh my god, that is like the tiniest writing I've ever seen. That is unreal. I can't tell. I think this is the Eau de Toilette, but honestly, I have smelled the Eau de Toilette and the Eau de Parfum version side by side, and I could not tell a difference. Maybe it's me, or maybe I had two of the same and I didn't realize it. But anyway, this is really nice. Okay, so this was launched in 1994, so it's actually 30 years old. Yeah, wow. 30 years old at this point. Wow. So this truly is vintage. Maybe they have reformulated it, I'm not sure. But it's called Cashmere Mist, and so as the name suggests, it has a cashmere feel. It has notes of cashmere wood, suede, musk, sandalwood. So all of that gives a kind of soft, powdery cashmere feel. It has vanilla and amber in the base, but it's not at all like a sweet ambery vanilla. It's just got a touch of that in the base. And then it also has some notes that lighten it up a little bit. Those are bergamot, jasmine, and lily of the valley, which do give it a kind of freshness, like a almost slightly aldehydic, clean freshness. So it almost has like a touch of a soapy vibe. So yeah, altogether definitely does to me come across as smelling a bit vintage. Again, I don't think this is a safe blind buy, but I know there's a lot of people who still love this fragrance to this day, even, you know, younger people who might not have grown up with it. Okay, so that is Cashmere Mist by Donna Karan. Okay, next fragrance, and this one is definitely meant to kind of have a vintage touch. This is 1957 by Chanel, and I just have this little 10 milliliter travel spray because this is a very, very expensive perfume. So the full-size bottle is probably at least a couple $100, if not more. I don't know, but a lot of the Chanel fragrances to me just smell very classic, very mature. I can't really think of a single Chanel fragrance that to me smells like very youthful, you know, or like is geared towards like young women or teenagers. Like they just all come across as very classic, more mature, sophisticated, and so this one is definitely no exception. This one, let's see when it was launched, 2019. But yeah, it's totally going for a vintage smell. As you can see, it's called 1957, which is kind of like, I feel like that was kind of the look when I was trying to dress for this video, because I didn't know what to wear, so I thought something more of that era. Anyway, so this is a very clean, powdery, slightly aldehydic musk. So it's like an elevated skin scent in the sense of like it really just smells as though you're very clean, you know, you pulled a fresh, clean, crisp white shirt out of the dryer, and there's just a little bit of like a very luxurious laundry smell coming off of it. Just smells like clean linens. Looking at the notes, we've got a lot of musk. We've got we've got musk in the top, middle, and base, and then there's also a lot of other powdery notes like orris, which is iris root. There's cashmere, there's cedar, there's a couple kind of like spicy notes like pink pepper and coriander, and then there's honey and vanilla in the base, but honestly I don't really get that. There's cedar, which maybe just adds like a slightly airy woodiness. And then we do have some fresher notes that uplift it, and those would be aldehydes, namely, which you really get and definitely gives that like laundry clean feel. There's also bergamot, which is a fresh, slightly green citrus kind of smell. Orange blossom and jasmine, so those are white florals. So overall, this is a powdery, musky, but also very clean fragrance with some nuances of like spice and like other type of notes. Okay, Mish Girl, yes. Okay, so that is 1957 by Chanel. Next fragrance here. This is such a beautiful bottle. This is called Musc Eternel, and it's by the brand Mizensir. So yeah, super pretty bottle. Look at that cap with the M. And this fragrance is another powder bomb. This to me, it's totally in the same realm as Kenzo Flower by Kenzo. But it doesn't smell like a dupe, but it's in that realm. So to me, it smells, oh my gosh, it smells just like, yeah, just like the most beautiful kind of baby powdery smell. Very feminine, floral, musky, powdery. This is a very expensive fragrance, by the way. It's like the most I've ever spent on a fragrance. Hold on. It was launched in 2015, so it's about a decade old now. And it doesn't have that many notes listed. So yeah, what we have for the notes are Bulgarian rose, iris, hawthorn, Egyptian jasmine, and then in the base we have white musk and tonka bean. So we have 3 powdery florals and then the addition of jasmine, which also comes across as vintage to me often. And then in the base, musk and tonka, so it's like a very fluffy, more so powdery than fluffy, and the tonka gives it a little bit of vanillic sweetness. So yeah, just overall really pretty, very powdery floral. Not a safe blind buy, especially for the price. Okay, so that's Musc Eternel by Mizensir. Okay, next fragrance, and I just added this one to my collection. This is the most recent addition to my collection, and I love it. I'm loving it. I've wanted to wear it a lot. I've been wearing it at night. I wore it during the day too, but I've been like putting it on before bed. This is Jo Malone's Mimosa and Cardamom. I don't know what it was, but something recently got me interested in trying to find more fragrances with mimosa as a prominent note, because I feel like you see that sometimes in fragrances, but rarely you see it, and it's like one of the main notes. So I bought this one, just blind bought it, and I love it, so I'm so glad I did. Mimosa is one of the main notes, as well as cardamom. So it's a yellow floral, a powdery yellow floral. Oh, by the way, this was launched in 2015, so also 10 years old. Almost 10 years old. Yeah, so Fragrantica only lists notes of mimosa, cardamom, and tonka bean. But I did see on Jo Malone's website it had a few other notes. I think it also had like rose and sandalwood. But basically, it's mostly mimosa and cardamom and something like tonka bean in the base, maybe a little sandalwood. So mimosa as a floral definitely has like a vintage smell to me, and I think to a lot of people. It's kind of like it's a powdery floral, So it can come across a bit like that sort of baby powder smell, but it has nuances to it that often can smell like hay or something aromatic, or maybe something even I don't know. I've just seen like other descriptions of what it can smell like. I don't remember all of it, but yeah, basically a floral with some other kind of facets that come through. So what this smells like to me is it's like a mixture of kind of like fresh soapy floral, but warmed up really nicely by the cardamom and tonka bean. So it's like a mixture of a fresh soapy floral that is kind of warm and a little bit sweet. I really like it. I think it's unique. I have not smelled anything like it before, although I'm sure there are other things out there. It's getting bright outside, so I'm going to try to brighten this light to counter it. So yeah, anyway, I really enjoy this, and I am on the hunt for some more mimosa fragrances to see what else out there I might enjoy. So that's Mimosa and Cardamom by Jo Malone. Okay, next fragrance, and I've definitely shown you all this quite a bit. This is Prada's Candy. The bottle itself has a vintage look to it, except for the hot pink, of course. But yeah, I just absolutely love this fragrance. I was just watching a Demi Rawling video. Demi Rawling does like fragrance reviews and stuff, and she was mentioning this and saying that like she'd loved it for years, but like hadn't actually just added it to her collection, and she finally did and was so glad. And I'm like, yes, it smells so good. It smells so good, but it's another one of those ones that when I smelled it a few years ago, when I first got interested in perfumes, I was like, ugh. And I had that thought that it smells too old school. So that's why I'm including it in this list, because it does have a bit of a vintage touch to it. So it's called Candy, so you think very sweet, right? And it definitely does have a sweetness to it. It has like a bit of a touch of a gourmand quality, but honestly, I would not call this a gourmand, because it's not super sweet, and it's very powdery. And it almost has a bit of like it doesn't have patchouli in it, but it has a bit of like a patchouli feel to it. It has benzoin in the base. I think that's what I'm getting that patchouli feel from. But yeah, basically the notes that we have are caramel, powdery notes, musk, benzoin, and vanilla. So all together, it's like a very powdery kind of vintage feel with a little bit of light caramel in there, but it comes across as like pretty mature and a bit demure. It's not a big projector, so you're either not going to smell like much at all, or you could like go crazy and overspray it. But yeah, it's just not a huge projector. It's not super loud. So that is Prada Candy. Okay, next one. This is a sample or like a travel spray from the brand Scentbird. And this is, if I ever get through this, which I probably will at some point, I might buy a bottle of this because I do really enjoy it. This is by the brand Lavanila, and it's called Pure Vanilla. So, you know, with a name like Pure Vanilla, you think it's just mostly vanilla that you're getting, like something like Vanilla 28 by Kaoli. But honestly, this to me is just as much floral as it is vanilla. It's very white floral and vanilla. I think there's also patchouli in here. Yeah, we got a little bit of patchouli, but it's just subtle, and it adds to the overall feel. So the only white floral they list is freesia. I don't know, I thought there would be some other white florals, but maybe it just really is just freesia. And then we also have a note of heliotrope, and heliotrope can come across as a bit almondy, powdery, maybe almost a bit like some almost like gourmand touches to it, like a little vanillic. And then we also have tonka bean in here, so again, a bit of like a creamy vanilla feel. And then of course we have Madagascar vanilla. So honestly, to me, I've always said that this, to me, it smells like a white chocolate with white florals. That's really what it smells like to me. It comes across as creamy, just has like a white chocolate touch. I don't know if it's from the heliotrope mixed with the vanilla, I don't know, but yeah, it's like a white chocolate, white floral. And so it's just so pretty, and it does have a bit of a vintage touch in my mind. And I heard about this one from the YouTuber Sarah Mays. She does perfume videos and reviews and stuff. So yeah, that's Lavanila. Lavanila's pure vanilla. Okay, next fragrance here. This is by Maison Francis Kurkdjian, and this is called Feminin Pluriel. Really beautiful bottle. Definitely has a classic feel to it. Very heavy top. This is an expensive fragrance for sure. If I bought this new, it probably would have been like $300, but I bought it used on Mercari or eBay. So this fragrance is called Feminin Pluriel. So, you know, you're expecting something that has a kind of classically feminine feel, and this definitely is that. It's floral, it's soft, it's just very pretty, dainty, clean smell. So the florals that we have in here, it's got a bunch. It's got iris, rose, violet, lily of the valley, orange blossom, and jasmine. So it has every color of floral basically except for yellow florals. I definitely would say I mostly get the iris, rose, violet, and lily of the valley. I feel like the lily of the valley adds like a very kind of clean feel, whereas the iris, rose, and violet is more of like a powdery soft feel. And then we also have patchouli and vetiver, which adds just a slight more groundedness, like a slightly dry woodiness from the vetiver, and just a touch of like a spicy earthiness from the patchouli. All together, clean, soft, powdery, floral, very feminine, very classic smelling, very pretty, but I think still a lot of people might like this, but again, not a safe blind buy, especially for the price. But you could get your hands on a sample if you want. So that's Feminin Pluriel by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. Okay, we're getting closer to the end. This one, this is Cartier's La Panthere Legere. So Cartier has a fragrance called La Panthere. The bottle looks slightly different, and this is a flanker to it. Legere means lighter, lightened up, lightness in French. So this is like the lighter cousin to La Panthere. And La Panthere means the panther, the leopard, something like that. So we've got this cat face here, so super beautiful bottle. And this fragrance is so pretty. It's very elegant. So it has a couple things that really come through strong that are also in the original La Panthere. That would include oak moss and dried fruits. So this fragrance is fruity, but it's mostly dried fruits is what I'm getting. And dried fruits always come across to me as a little more classic or vintage. I feel like the fresh, super fresh fruits is a little bit more like 2000s plus, from what I can tell. So yeah, this has dried fruits, oak moss. So I love oak moss, but it's not for everybody. But that's also a note that can come across as a little more vintage because it's used in a lot of older fragrances. So yeah, this has that grounded feel, but what really lightens it up are two main things that I get. A note of gardenia, as well as aldehydes. And gardenia and aldehydes both to me can add that vintage feel, especially aldehydes. So this is a nice mix of grounded and elevated to me. With the dried fruits, the oak moss, the gardenia, and the aldehydes. It's got a bunch of other notes as well, but that's mainly what I pick up from this. Yeah, so that is Cartier La Panthere Legere. Okay, and then next one. This one's technically not in my collection because I don't own it. I mean, I own it, but I'm not keeping it. I'm waiting to sell it. Nobody's bought it yet, but this is Beautiful Belle by Estée Lauder, and this one was launched in 2018. Sorry, I have not been like telling you the years for every single one, but this one was launched in 2018, so it's not that old, but it does have a vintage feel to me. It's very floral. A little musky. Yeah, it's just mostly floral to me. This is actually my scent of the day. It's a musky floral, so it's a bit like this. It's a bit like Rumeur. They don't have the same smell, but they're both like musky florals, and like honestly pretty strong floral. So if you're not into floral, you probably won't like this, but this one has white florals and yellow florals and also rose. So it's got Mimosa. That's why I was smelling this, because I was like, oh, this has mimosa in it, but really I mostly get white florals. At least I don't really pick out the mimosa. The white florals are gardenia, tuberose, and orange blossom. I feel like I'm mostly getting gardenia and tuberose, and then there's also there's also rose. In the base, we have ambroxan, orris, musk, and suede. So all together, that's creating like a kind of musky cashmere feel. And then there's also marzipan, which is like an sweet almond paste note. So yeah, this definitely comes across vintage feel, although it is a very modern fragrance. And if you like florals, you really might like this one. So that's Beautiful Belle by Estée Lauder. Okay, and that brings us to our final fragrance in today's list, and I have shown this one many times. This is Chanel's Coco Mademoiselle. This is a classic, and honestly, like I said earlier, most of these Chanels just have a bit of a classic or vintage feel to me, so this one is no exception. But it holds up so well today, and so many people, even younger women, still love this fragrance. I think a lot of people just like love the allure of Chanel and the brand and the class, all of that. So anyway, I think what mostly gives this like a more classic, mature feel to me is the patchouli. Chanel just does patchouli in such a beautiful way. So I think even some people who don't like patchouli do enjoy it in Chanel. The Chanel fragrances, like another one that a lot of people enjoy is the Chanel Chance Eau Fraiche, and this one has quite a bit of patchouli, same kind of patchouli smell as this one, but more fresh. But a lot of people do like this that maybe don't like patchouli or don't even realize that it has patchouli. So yeah, this fragrance, three main things that I get from this is there's orange, there's citruses in the top notes, but mostly like orange is what I get in the top notes. And then we have a bunch of florals in the mid. I mostly get rose, but there's also white florals and yellow florals. So we have orange blossom, jasmine, rose, mimosa, and ylang ylang. But I feel like I mostly get rose. And then in the base, I mostly get patchouli, but we also have quite a few other notes. So pretty. This is just so pretty. Like, I just love this. Oh my gosh. This is just like, to me, this is a masterpiece. So that is Coco Mademoiselle by Chanel. And by the way, this is the Eau de Toilette version. Wait, am I saying that wrong? This is the Eau de Parfum version. Yeah, there is an Eau de Toilette version. Probably smells pretty similar. What I was trying to say is they also have a Coco Mademoiselle Intense. And this is not the Intense version. The Intense version, I think, is just a little more heavy on the vanilla and base notes. But probably also very pretty. Okay, so yeah, that's Coco Mademoiselle, Eau de Parfum by Chanel. Okay, everybody, so I hope you enjoyed this list. Don't take it too seriously because, like I said, I'm not a perfume expert and I'm only in my mid-30s. But yeah, I thought this was fun. I love a lot of these type of scents. I've found that as I've explored perfumery more, I tend to like a lot of these like floral, powdery type of smells that can come across as a bit vintage. So that's just me. And yeah, I'm sending you all peace, love, beauty, and harmony. And I'll catch you all again soon. Okay, bye.